you would be able to bring them over, and I will show you how. You'd be able to create referral letters, patient handouts, and I'll go over features like telemedicine and the AI pre-visit. And I'm going to show you form filling to end it and Accuro integration if you're using Accuro. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this and we can go here. So this is your dashboard once you log in. Starting an encounter is incredibly easy. All you have to do is just the patient's going to walk in. You're going to start the encounter, or you can have it started right before they walk in. You're going to open the screen. You don't really need to enter any information over here. You can just immediately start recording. When you see the patient and you go, I'm here with patient John today, John, the system is going to automatically recognize that this is the patient name and it's going to capture it automatically for you. I'm assuming that no one here has a template, so I'm not going to go into templates yet, but this is literally all you would have to do. You would click start recording and the recording will get started. You can have the conversation with the patient and Empathia will be running in the background. It's going to be capturing all the information, all the relevant information, and it's going to create a SOAP note or a consult letter or what have you uh, with notes, and you'd be able to create a referral letter if you want to. You can create a patient handout, and we're going to go into the details of that once we get to that point. But that is essentially how to start an encounter. Now, there are some additional details where, for example, if the patient that's coming in has prior labs that you want to submit and you want to include in the encounter, you would be able to do that here. You'd be able to type in the labs if you want. If it's a simple number like an A1C and you just want to write it in, you can absolutely do that. Or if it's a file, you would be able to click on the plus sign over here and click upload file. You can upload PDFs. You can upload an image if you have an image of whatever. And if you do not have the image of it, you can capture the screen or capture the web page. What this will do is if you, let's say you have your EMR, let's say you're using Oscar and it's open to the side, you'd be able to take a screenshot of that web page. Or if you're using, another example would be TeleSPS Suite as an example, you'd be able to capture the image, the screen over here, and you'd be able to capture this relevant section. That's just for data entry about the patient if you want to include that in your recording. But you do not have to if you do not want to. Just click start recording and the conversation goes from there. We also have the Telemed feature. If you do a telephone, if you call patients, you'd be able to call them from here. And you'd be able to set the caller ID. So some physicians really like this feature because once if they try to call the patient from outside the clinic, the number and the clinic's number does not show up on the patient's phone, and sometimes the patients do not pick up if it's an unknown number. So you'd be able to set your caller ID here for that. So your clinic's caller ID, and you'd be able. So the number that shows up once you call your patient would be your clinic. I'm going to show you an example of a note of what it looks like. So this is what the SOAP note looks like. You let's use another example. Sorry. So this is an example of a note. It's a general SOAP note. You would have the ability to modify multiple parameters about the note. You can modify the length. You can modify how the verbosity, whether it's in bullet points, whether it's point form or narrative. You'd be able to make all these modifications to the note from the personalization section. You would be able to copy it from here and you paste it into your EMR, and that's generally the workflow you would need to get going. However, there is also for Accuro, there is an integration where you can enter your where you can just send your note to the patient chart. Um, yeah, that you'd be able to do that if you're using Accuro. We have a feature called Smart Edit where you can use it to make modifications to the current note. For example, if the name hasn't been picked up correctly, for example, I was speaking to a physician and they said the name wasn't picked up correctly. The patient's name was for example John, but the system picked it up as Jason. That physician was able to go in here, click Smart Edit, and she was able to instruct the system to change all instances of Jason to John, and it does that for her. You would be able to, for example, say you want to change a narrative section to a bullet point section, you'd be able to do that through the Smart Edit. Um, that's the general workflow of how you would start. Um, yes, that's the general workflow of how you would start the encounter. I want to demonstrate an example of the Smart Edit. Let's see. Sure, let's go here. Let's say this patient seems to have tried gabapentin and duloxetine before. I can go list the names of medications that this patient has tried before in. And what this will do is it's going to create the note for me, and it will list the names of the medications that this patient has used. And once it's created, you would be able to click on insert and it inserts it right here in the place of the note. Another thing I would want to demonstrate is, let's say it created the note for you and you want to make a very quick modification. You'd be able to click right into the section that you want to modify and modify it on the go.
Michael, I think
Yes.
the participant who has raised his hand, Dr. Ferdy.
Hello, I'd just like to know, can you ask it to give me the verbose soap note, but on top, I would just like to have a point-wise summary of the main important points. So some stuff needs to be repeated in the soap note, but some stuff, when I review the notes, I just want to look at the point-wise points at the top to see, okay, what are the important stuff?
You would absolutely be able to do that. You would be able to do that through a template. What the template will look like is it's going to look like a regular soap note template, except you can create a section at the top where you can enter all the information that you want to extract that you would would remind you of this patient and the information that you want to pick up on, and you can place that section right at the top, so that will always be created for you with every encounter. Does that sort of answer your question?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. So how would I
Right.
get the instruction for that?
Right. So you would have to go in here and create a template. So I'm going to show you a quick example. Right now, I'm filtering by family medicine in the community, and here's a family general template. I would take this template as my own to be able to modify it, and I'm going to save it to my personal folder. Here we go. And over here, once it's ready, you will be able to click on it, and this is the general structure of the template. If it if it's close enough to what you want, you can keep it as it is and then make the slight modifications. I'm going to show you more ways to create a template for yourself. But essentially, what I was talking about is, as we have this objective assessment and plan, you can add a section up here on add a section, and then we would be able to name the section patient summary. and you will enter the instructions, provide information A, B, and C about the patient from this encounter, and then we can move this section through the reordering all the way to the top above the subjective. Here we go. So the patient summary is going to always be at the top, and then you have the SOAP note would start. And this would generally, it would look exactly like that, except the ABC would be all the parameters you're looking to get out of the SOAP note. Does this cover your concern?
Yes, thanks a lot. That looks good.
Perfect, perfect. So I quickly jumped into templates to answer the question, but I will quickly go over what templates are since we're already here. This is how you go to templates. And there are some templates in the community, and you can filter by family medicine. So you filter by family medicine, you will find a whole, a bunch of templates. You can import them. So they're, you can import them so you can use them, and you can modify them so it becomes yours. And once you import one, you can click into it and have a look at it to see if it's something close enough to what you want. That usually helps prevent you from making too many modifications. Then you can click import here, or just import it. Once you have it in your personal section, you'd be able to click into it and make all the modifications you want, change things around, move things around. And you would be able to click here, select any of your recent encounters, and test it. So you can continuously have a feedback loop between making the modification and testing it until the note comes out exactly how you're looking for it to turn out. So that's one way of getting a template from the community. Another way of getting a template is by creating it yourself. But creating it yourself is not as daunting as it sounds. All you would have to do is just go to your EMR, grab a note that you wrote about a patient, bring the note in, don't worry about the patient's name, and the system will automatically de-identify the patient information, and it will just keep the skeleton and structure of your note. And it's going to be a SOAP note. Make sure the note type is SOAP note, and then generate the template. At that point, what's going to happen is it's going to create a template for you that's going to look pretty much like this one, just like the entry, but it will have the skeleton and structure of your own. It will extract it from your note. So you'll be able to click on it, go in, modify it. If it's not exactly how you want it, you'd be able to make all the modifications you want. You'd be able to reorder sections like I showed you earlier, and then set it as your default from here. Then whenever you start an encounter, all you would have to do is just click start recording, and it's going to use it as your default template to make the SOAP note out of the encounter that just happened. With regards to the SOAP note, you can over here you have many different personalization preferences. Make the content length highly detailed, concise. Make your assessment and plan problem based. So each problem that was discussed is going to have its own assessment and plan, so on and so forth. You can make all these modifications here. With regards to patient consent, you can have this blurb on. So this blurb will be attached to your note after it's created, automatically indicating that you obtain consent from the patient before starting the recording. Does anyone have any questions I could perhaps answer? You can type it in the chat or just speak it out if you like.
Can you guys go over a workflow where we're looking at labs and it helps like make a preemptive like SOAP note with the labs done? Or
You'd like me to show you an example of what it's like to enter lab information? Is that your question, perhaps?
yeah, like you guys have it where we can kind of screenshot labs and it could kind of preemptively make a note. Can you maybe like give an example of that?
Sure.
Like a draft note?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, so you'd be able to. So is it that the patient has come in yet, or are they not there at your office yet?
So they're not there at the office yet, or like say it's a telephone visit and their visit is for to like go over their lab work.
Got it. Got it.
Like
Okay.
yeah, you guys have that screenshot capability just to see how you guys do it.
Oh, sure. Okay. I think I would have to share my screen instead of just the window, so I'll stop sharing for a second.
Michael, while you're getting that set up,
Is my screen visible?
I'm just going to answer a quick question that came up in the chat. What languages are supported? We support over 20 different languages. There's a wide variety, right, from Asian, Eastern, European languages that are supported. So yeah, if there is a specific one that you are looking for, and that's not available in our auto detect, please let us know. And maybe Michael, you can also show the language settings on the Chrome extension after you're done with the screenshot.
Sure. To demonstrate how to take the screenshot, you would click here. So let's say you're going to have to enter the patient name to basically identify the encounter later. But let's say you have a bunch of labs for a patient. What you do is click here, click capture screen. This will give me the ability to choose between which screens are open. And over here, you can see the current Empathia window. And over here, I have an example of a bunch of labs. This is what it looks like. I'm going to click on OK. And it will be uploaded for the patient just as you see. This is going to be a screenshot. And the visit context, you're going to enter whatever visit context, patient, male, 25-year-old coming in for follow-up on, whatever. And then if the patient's not there yet, what you do is you, for follow-up, let's do that. You click generate draft summary. What this will do at this point is it's going to create this. It's going to be dormant. It's just going to stay there waiting for the patient to come in. Once the patient comes in, you're going to add the recording through here, or through, I'm going to show you once you enter the encounter what it's going to look like. But once the recording is added, it's going to use the information. So now it's ready. It automatically picked up the age and picked up the sex of the patient, that it's a male. And it says that the chief complaint is it's a follow-up visit. And as you can see, the intake summary synthesized information from the labs that I uploaded, and it flagged that this is outside the normal range. Yeah, so if this answers your question. But as of right now, there's no SOAP note, as you can see, because no encounter happened with the patient. What you do at this point is you click add recording, or from the outside, from here, you can click add the recording from here. Patient comes in, you click this, recording starts, you start, conversing with the patient, you have the encounter, and once they leave, you stop. And the SOAP note that's generated would include all this information. It will be picked up if it's relevant to the encounter that you had, and relevant if the template, for example, requires that, you could say in the template, you can have in a certain section, please list all, for example, tests that were outside the normal range. So it's going to pick up that the white blood cells, it's going to have it just have it. It's like a Boolean operator. So you'd be able to do that at that point. If that answers your question, perhaps.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Awesome.
And the side question on that the Boolean operator thing, if that's part of our template, what for any visit would it automatically find abnormal things and drag them in?
Yes, it would. If it's I mean, it would have to. So as you saw here, the normal range is listed, so that helps the system figure out what's outside the normal range. So
Got it.
so yeah, that's how that works.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
All
awesome.
right, thank you.
Okay.
Mike,
And if yes.
sorry, while you're on templates, there's also another question about how do the note style settings kind of interact with templates?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
There's a question, how do the note style settings affect the templates that you have already personalized?
The note style affect.
Settings. So the settings that you just showed about the default and the concise and the detail.
Oh, right. Got it. So it would affect it, the content length will be affected, but if you have, for example, if you want the assessment and plan to be problem-based, it will be problem-based. Yeah, if that answers the question. Purnima, does that cover it?
I guess the question is what I interpreted is more like if there are any conflicts. So if the SOAP note settings say that it needs to be problem based, but for example, maybe your template you made it to be a separate section for or a combined section for assessment and plan, it will first refer to your template. Um, if the template is applied to that recording. So if you do a recording without any template applied, it will take your settings as default. But if you have a template and those do not follow your existing settings, then it will first defer to the template. And say, for example, you have your note settings as concise, but your template says, I want a detailed HPI. So how that works is for the HPI section, it will follow the template instruction of keeping it in detail. Whereas for the rest of the note, like for the maybe for the objective and the assessment and plan, it will keep it concise. So there is a little bit of a hierarchy, but if you have a template created, it will follow those rules first. And
Right. So
again, these settings are mostly for SOAP notes. These would not apply to referral letters or consult letters and things like that.
so the template takes precedence, and yeah, okay. So that's the general workflow of how you would start an encounter when a patient comes in, how you can save a draft before a patient comes in. So you just, and have you can and have the encounter just sort of waiting for the patient to come in so you can add the recording. Are there any other questions that I can perhaps answer?
Michael, can we go ahead and show how to do a patient handout with all the different languages that we offer?
Right. Okay. So patient handout. Let's do. Sorry. So if you have given the patient instructions in the encounter, you would be able to generate a note that says patient handout, and you would be able to create a template for the patient handout if you want to provide structure and uniformity to all the patient handouts that you're giving your patients. That's essentially what you would do. So what you do is click patient handout. Sorry, it's stuck. You would click patient handout, and then it would give you a list of languages that you can pick to create the patient handout in. I'm just going to do it in English for now. And that's essentially how you create a patient handout. And here, and again, with regards to templates, when you create a template, you'd be able to select how you want to create that template. for whatever. There are many types. So there's a consult letter. There's the supplementary note, the draft summary. So um, when you create the summary from all the information that you upload about the patient, if you want it in a specific structure, you'd be able to do that. And the referral letter can have a template as well. You'd be able to do that from there. Melissa, did that cover it?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect.
For the pre-visit questionnaire,
Right.
is there a way to have it so, like, for a generic visit, like, is that able to be set up so we can send that off to patients before a visit and we get kind of like a pre-visit history? Is that the point of it?
Yes, you would be, this is how you would create the AI pre-visit, and the point of it is exactly as you said. You would be able to, if they are already in your office, you can click on the AI pre-visit and have them scan a QR code. Over here, the questionnaire that you want to send, you'd be able to create that questionnaire yourself, and you have total control over it. You enter the patient name, and you have them scan the QR code if they're in your office, or if they're going to come in maybe a week or a few days, you would send them the link, and this is the message that goes to them. And that's how you copy the message, send it to them, and that's how you do it. And the questionnaire. So what happens with the AI pre-visit is they will be able to speak with the AI either through typing if they're on their phone or the computer, or if some patients prefer to just speak with the system, so they'll be able to use the microphone to respond to the questions, and their voice would be captured with the information they provided.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. Oops. Here we go. I can demonstrate the Chrome extension, and what the Chrome extension is good for is, so the Chrome extension is right here, and this is what it looks like. The benefit of the Chrome extension is it allows you to be anywhere else when you want to use Empathia. So you're not stuck to the screen. You don't have to do, click on new encounter and do everything that we discussed, you'd be able to do in the Chrome extension, except for, let's say you have a browser-based EMR like Oscar. You can have the browser open right here, and you can continue using Empathia and control it from here. Enter patient name, visit type, select templates, enter all the labs, and you would still be able to do all the uploading that I mentioned previously through the smart summary, and yeah, you would just click start recording. One added feature that's in the extension that's not in the web portal is when you click up here, there's record multiple speakers. What this does is for visits where there is, for example, a father and a kid and his kid, and both of them are due for a visit, and you would be able to it will separate speaker one from speaker two from speaker three, which would be the physician as an example, and this just helps the system create a distinction between all the people speaking. So that is definitely a benefit of using another benefit to using the extension. But other than that, you'd be able to control your encounters from here. You'll have view of them. You'd be able to copy, um, And yeah, so that's what the extension does. Um, but if you're using Oscar EMR, there is also an added benefit to the extension that it's one-way integrated. And what that would do is it would, once you record, once it creates a note, you would be able to push that note into the EMR, into the patient chart using a small window that opens up when you're on the EMR window. Yeah.
For the Chrome extension, Michael, if you can also highlight the settings for the languages. Our system can auto detect the language that you're speaking in and automatically transcribe. Um, the option available on the Chrome extension is to give a better transcription accuracy if you find that the auto detection is struggling a little bit. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so you'd be able, just like Purnima said, you'd be able to select the language from here, and this just gives better accuracy to your recording. Um, yes, any other questions? I can demonstrate the forms and how that would work. We have a feature for form filling. What this can do is it sort of works like templates in the way that there are already forms uploaded to the community. And what to get to them, what you have to do is here's home, you go to forms, and you're going to find a lot of forms uploaded by the community, and you can filter them based on region, based on if you're probably looking for an MRI requisition, you just write MRI, and it's gonna filter all the ones that are MRI requisitions. This one is in BC, this one is in Ontario. You can click on it, have a look. You would be able to upload your own form. However, the form would have to be fillable, and a fillable form is just a form where you can click into the fields and type with your keyboard. If you see that this is the form that you want, what you can do is over here, save to my library. It brings it over to your library, so it's going to go from community to personal. And after the encounter is done, and for example, you realize that you want to send this patient to, have an MRI, for example, you would click on autofill form over here, and you would select the form that you're looking to fill. And from the encounter, from everything you've discussed with the patient, the form would be filled for you. At least, the information that was discussed. Anything else that wasn't would just remain empty.
Can you go
Uh,
over like one of the disability forms, like a
Sure.
disability tax credit or one of those ones? Because they have to look at all the chart notes, right?
So, are you referring to this disability
Yes,
form?
yes.
Okay. It's loading. Is this the one? Sorry.
Yeah,
Just give
that's
me
the one.
one.
That's right.
Right. So, yeah. So as I said earlier, you would be able to go through it according to everything you've discussed with the patient. And by the way, you can upload things about the patient. So, for example, your patient is unlikely to give you their social insurance number during the encounter, but if you have that information, what you can do is uh, let's say this is the patient that's going to come in. Before they come in, you can enter all this information about them that you think would help you fill the form. And once that's done, and the patient's going to come in, you're going to put the recording. And once that's done, and then you go click on autofill form, it's going to fill the form with all the information that you discussed or that you provided. Does this cover your question?
Yeah. So, like, say this disability tax credit, it's usually like a lot of info. If we do that info in that visit, that's fine. We can upload it or talk about it and use that to fill the form. But is it able to like look through like their entire chart history and fill the form out? Or do we have to have a visit that day and then it's based on the visit info for the day?
It is based on the visit info. However, so it's not going to pull on information that's in your EMR without you explicitly providing it.
Mhm.
However, let's say there is a note that provides a really good summary about that patient you think would answer a lot of questions in the form. What you can do is copy that note, and before the patient, when you click on new encounter, you can paste that note in here. So you could talk about, specific areas specific sections in the note that would answer specific areas in the form. That's how you would get it to fill, significant sections of the form for you. But you would have to provide that information. If you're not going to discuss the information, at least have that information pasted here if you already know it about the patient.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have any other questions about anything discussed?
There was a question in the Q&A that I quickly answered about the telemedicine, about receiving incoming calls. And currently our Telemed is not able to answer incoming calls. It's only for outgoing calls that you make, and it can record and generate a note from that conversation. But if you are receiving calls that you would like to transcribe, then the regular recording function will be suitable for that. I think that was Dr. Philip who asked that question. If you have any follow-up comment to that, please let us know. But yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Another way to record now, since we're on Telemed, another way to record Telemed calls is if you're going to have a Zoom or a Google meeting with someone, it's not going to be a call, it's going to be record from other platform. And what this does is it gives you the option to share your screen. If you have the Google Meet tab open, you would be able to click on share screen, click on the Google Meet tab. And what this does is it captures the audio better from you and from the patient. So it would just improve the accuracy of the system with the audio picked up. And just like over here, when you click new encounter and you get to pick the template and you get to enter information about the patient, with Telemed, you still have that ability. You just have to click on encounter and you get everything that's there. Patient name, template goes here, and enter information about the patient. And then you click on call, it's going to call the patient. If you do not put a caller ID, it's going to default to a number from your province. But if you do enter a caller ID, it's going to show that number to the patient, as I mentioned earlier. And I would want to alert you to this button down here, the live chat button. What this does is it gives you the ability to speak to one of us, and we would be able to assist you live during work hours, or you can request a call if that's more if that's easier for you, and you could ask questions about how to use the system. So for example, I do not know how to use this feature, what do I do to get this? Or if you create a template and it's not exactly producing the note how you want, you can go to the live chat, you can speak to one of us, and you just inform us of the encounter number. So you'd be able to tell me, for example, over here in encounter number 2, I asked for this, but it's not showing up. I applied the template and it's not showing up. Can you please look into it? And we would be able to go in, modify the template for you, make sure that it works, and then we hand it over to you and tell you that now it works. Right. And we have, speaking of patient privacy, you have full control over data management. If you do not want the recording, transcript, or attachment stored for, for essentially any length of time you want, you would click here and you would specify the number of days you want the information to be deleted after. One issue or one drawback for this would be the support aspect, because sometimes physicians come to us and tell us, can you please look into a note that an encounter that happened 2 months ago, and if they have this set to a month, we wouldn't be able to go back and check, recover that note for them, or check, if there's something wrong with it, we wouldn't be able to help. So that would just be something that you would have to weigh the risk versus benefit for. I would want to stress on that we're HIPAA and PIPEDA compliant, and whatever EMRs, whatever privacy compliance EMRs go through, we go through as well. So that's important. And with regards to patient consent, you can have them fill that form and just store it in your office, or you can just read this blurb out to them. You don't have to do it every single time you see them. It can just be a one-off thing. Hey, I'm using AI to help me chart. Is this okay with you? And do you consent? And once they say yes, it's going to add this. This will, like I said earlier, over here, this blurb, which you can, by the way, you can modify, would be added to every note that you create, SOAP note that you create.
Michael, I know we're kind of running towards the end of our time. Maybe we can quickly go over the Accuro integration, what that looks like, and I'm happy to share my screen for the integration demo.
I'm sure you want me to stop sharing mine?
Yeah, let's do that. So I wanted to quickly just share with our viewers today what the Accuro integration does and how that helps. The key for our Accuro API level integration is that it can sync your appointments directly from your Accuro scheduler, and you can send the notes directly to Accuro from your Empathia account. So what that would look like is right now what you see on my screen are these synced drafts that are generated based on appointment times. So I start my day, I open Empathia, and I click on sync schedule, and it will pull all my appointments for the day. And just similar to the drafts that Michael was demonstrating earlier, it will pull up basic information from your EMR. So this is patient information and also information that's pulled from the history bands in Accuro. And what you can do is, again, simply start recording once the patient is there, either directly from the draft or from the mic button here. And once your note is ready, a completed note, you'll be able to push it back to Accuro using this red little button here that sends it to EMR. And once that's done, you will see this tag that it is sent. You have the option to bulk send to EMR. So the notes for a particular day, you can send them all together. And it will also kind of show you which have already been sent, which encounters have notes that are ready and which do not. So that's an easy way to bulk send to your Accuro EMR. This is also compatible with your app. So if you have synced your schedule on your web platform, you can open up your app and it will show these same drafts, and you can start recording from the app similar to the regular app workflow. And there was one question that was asked during the form submission about capturing physical assessments in the physical exam in the recording. So, Michael, do you want to answer that question? What's the best way to capture physical exams while conducting an encounter?
Sure. To capture physical exams would essentially be sort of like OSCEs, where you had to say what you're doing. It would be just checking the patient. If, for example, you're doing a neuro exam, you'd say cranial nerves 1 to 12 are normal. Temperature is this, blood pressure is that. And you would just go through it how you would do in an OSCE. And that would capture all this information and put it in the objective section in the SOAP note. Another way to do it, like I said earlier, is if you have Boolean operators, you could have it set where if you say everything's normal, it would have a set, thing, a set blurb that it would say, blood pressure within normal parameters. And if you don't want to, have the specific information on there, You don't have to, and that's also the second way to do it. Purnima, do you want to add anything?
I think that kind of summarizes, like you said, either you can speak out the assessment directly during the exam, or some people wait for the patient to walk out and kind of quickly dictate a short blurb. Or as you suggested, you can add that kind of conditional statements in your template so that you don't have to keep repeating yourself over and over again.
Mhm.
All right. I think we've covered a lot of information, right, from new features, existing functionality, and some of our new EMR integrations as well. We had quite a lot of questions from the audience. That was helpful. Kept the conversation lively rather than all of us just staring at each other. Thank you all for taking the time. The session has been recorded, so everybody will be receiving a copy or a link to the recording shortly. Michael, unless we have any questions, I think thank you for attending today.
Perfect. If no questions, then yes. Thank you,
Okay.
and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks. Thanks,
Bye.
Michael.